Welcome, everybody, to Answers with the Astral Baglady. We're live today with your host, Linda L. Newman, Dr. Reverend, sort of, kind of,
I am never,
wonderful person.
I am never ever Linda. I am L.
Oh, L.
Thank
Newman,
you.
the
Thank you.
Dr. Reverend type,
Yeah.
one each. There's
Yeah.
only one of them ever, and
Thank
myself,
God.
Spirit Soaring. And today we're going to regale you with, or not.
Because
And,
you're,
in the mathematical field, we actually call the or nots of astrology and ors.
mm, and or
You're either going to get this or that.
true. So much of it's in your attitude. However, right now, I am settled comfortably into the or not zone because, as you know, I'm very Virgo. I make lists for everything. When I make a list to buy groceries, I will list the items in the order in which they are shown in the store. That's how Virgo I am. It's kind of scary.
Right.
So I get up, make my list. Mars is there. I've got my espresso. Life is good. Whatever. Feed the cats. Feed the birds. Put my face on. And then I look at my list and I think, well, there's always at least 10 items on the list, sometimes way too many. And I'll look at them and say, this is what I'm going to do today or not. Because when the Venus kicks in, that's a not. I'll do pretty things. I'll fluff pillows. I'll do laundry. I've been washing curtains all this week, even though they're not dirty, just because they're wrinkled. Or not. It's good to leave that really big space between the what I'm going to do, what I want to do, what I'm actually going to get accomplished. Now, I have been, I don't know about you, but I've been powering through the last 3 days, well, today as well, just because I knew that the minute I sat down or let down, the couch would call me in. Okay, it'd be nap time, and I don't want to do nap time. I take a nap. I can't sleep at night, so that doesn't work too well for me. However, we have all gone through the firestorm, literally the epitome of what it is to deal with unfettered Mars in Leo, Venus in Leo, Moon transiting both of them in Leo, opposing Saturn in Aquarius. It began, as I said previously, at 8:21 p.m. on the 10th. That was Saturday. And the moon officially entered Virgo today at 4:30 a.m. So if ever there were a cycle, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, where you may have been fighting with yourself or fighting with the world or fighting with your energy level, it's now. We're just coming out of it now. The Virgo moon says, do what you can, do it well. No half-assed measures are acceptable here. Do a good job, and you can be proud of yourself, right? However, let's go back to Leo babies. Leo babies are always babies. Leo babies are the I, me, my babies of the zodiac. And so when they see something they want, they get it, or they make it happen, or they whine until somebody gets it for them. It's just that simple. And with the moon there, it's all very karmic. Moon, Saturn. What is absolutely positively necessary to get done? I must feed the cats. I must buy cat food. I must feed the birds. I must go to the feed store. That's the got tos. Okay. Now I got real lucky. As you know, we're getting another beautification award for my landscaping, which every year gets harder to live up to. The first year I didn't even know it. Second year, this big fat guy got out of a Lincoln Town car in a shiny suit and walked up to me, blinding me with his pinky ring, smoking a big nasty cigar, and said, "Well, you the Rev?" "Yes, I'm the Rev." "Well, you've been nominated for a beautification award, blah, 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 blah." On one hand, it's really an honor because I'm up against the really stuffy homeowners association, and the people that live on Vincetta, which is the heart of the VHPOA, whatever it's called, have staff. They have trucks full of people that come in and they weed and they feed and they. I got the cat who basically trips me and eats the grass as I'm pulling it out of the flower bed. So, it's a little different.
You're beating out all the would be one percenters on the other side of town.
Absolutely. And I'm smart enough to, I use soap and water on my plants so they won't get bugs and it doesn't go into the water drain.
Look,
it's all good.
Natural pesticides like marigolds and
Yeah, simple stuff. So we got lucky this year because it has rained every darn day. And because it has rained every darn day and they don't want to come here in a mud pile, I have another week to get the house in order. Thank you, God. I mean, they're not going to step in the door, but I get the yards in order because I still have to paint the garage and power wash the house and oy good doy. And then when they get all done, they paint this big picture with a coffee table book that has photos, beautiful, shiny color photos, glossy paper stock of people's flower beds and whoever won, blah, blah, blah. However, it's $75, which means in 7 years, I've never bought one. I'm not going to start now. If I want to see my flower beds, I can look out the window. I don't need to, I can take a picture with my phone if I have to. So it's all good. Conversely, I had a man come here 2-3 weeks ago to clean out my gutters. I appreciate it because my ladder's not tall enough. So it's not going to happen. Okay. I could do the patio, but I can't do the house. So he came out and he cleaned. And he left a tree growing in my gutter. The tree now has amassed a whole line of garbage on the roof because, we've had a monsoon for the last week or so. So I keep calling. I'll call him again tomorrow and say, oh, by the way, we're going to have that photo shoot pretty soon. I appreciate if you come here and get that tree out of my gutter. Last time, I wish you called me sooner because I was in Royal Oak this morning. Well, I'm in Royal Oak now. And I'm not moving the house. So whenever you can, should have said whenever you can. Should have said soon is good. I'll say soon is good tomorrow. So get that out of the way. So I did. I must admit that I've got a little bit of lung funk because I've been out working on the yard in the rain. And eventually I get so much nature up my nose that I'm kind of But that's okay because when it rains, that's the best time to weed, don't you know? So everything's worked out to my favor. No complaints. No complaints. So we're back to or not. There's what you're going to do or not. And make peace with the not part. Because what's meant to be is meant to be. You can't move the river and you can't change the tides and you can't push when your energy level isn't there. That erodes your immune system.
Yeah, we know all about that, right?
Yeah. 7 days a week for 13 months and I keeled over. Yeah, I remember that one.
It only took me 6 months at really, really weird hours and no proper counseling. But yeah, it erodes your immune system and leaves you doing the or nots.
Yeah.
We have JC and Maria Riester and Miss Castellano in the chat over on your page.
Hi, guys. Why don't you tell people how they can get to us, by the way? I mean, obviously they found us here, but...
Well, you can actually start watching us live, chatting with us on our YouTube channel. We have that up and running full-time now. We have a Discord chat group that nobody seems to want to join.
Remind me.
We're using StreamYard and Anchor to get us up all over everywhere. We have Anchor FM podcast. We have Google podcast. We have, wait for it, we have Breaker FM. We have Spotify. We're just podcasting everywhere. And right now we're streaming live on Elle's page, my page, and YouTube.
Wonderful.
I'm looking for something else to add. I think I'm going to do Lively.
Okay. You know me, I have no druthers.
I'm having fun.
I have absolutely no druthers. I'm just so, like I said, I thank you every day and Swampy for all the work you did to get this up and running. You did more. I'm a broken record. You did more in the space of a week than that guy before you did in 11 or 12 years, which is okay. I mean, it all turned to poo, which is good. Because once it turned to poo, there's no need to fight it, right?
Well, you brought in new blood, new old blood that was in a growth stage. And as long as I can keep this growth stage rolling, next year looks to be shoring up foundations for me.
Excellent.
So still technically a building year.
Sure.
So I'm looking good for the next 2 years, numerologically.
It's a tongue
But
twister. Numerologically.
but I digress because I kind of chose that. Um, I went with the what I'm gonna do instead of what I'm not gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and people lose track of that sometimes when they get hit with these walls of, oh, what are the planets going to do to me now?
Nothing. They're going to do what you let them do.
Yeah, they're going to do exactly what you let them do. And that's one of the reasons that the good Reverend Dr. L and I get on here and talk about these things. Look, we have managed to dodge all of the bullets that everybody, everything, Mother Nature included, throw at us.
Mm-hmm.
Not because we're pros at dodging bullets, but because we pay attention to the charts. We do our planning when planning is good. We do our growing when growing is great. And we plan around Murphy.
Yeah, good old Murphy.
And how do you plan around Murphy? You make contingency plans. Okay.
Very Virgo.
If this goes off the rail, this is what I'm going to do. And believe it or not, that actually teaching that theory, that practice to others has actually benefited them because they figured out that things are going to happen.
Yep.
And when things happen, if I let it take me off the rails, then I might as well just sit back and do nothing.
Absolutely.
And
just
the kind of people I associate with don't like to just sit and twiddle their thumbs.
Yeah, it's deadly.
Well, you know what stagnation does.
Yeah.
It kills, and it kills in a visceral way. Sweetie said hello.
I said, hi there, sugar.
Don't confuse her. She might think it's me talking.
Call everybody sugar. I know. When it says spirit soaring, that's probably me. Okay. More than likely, it's me.
I'm too busy running my mouth and controlling the other chat room.
God bless you.
I'll let Elle field the communications on my page, and I'll handle the communications on her page. How's that work?
Good trade. I do have my cards with me. If people have questions, I'd be more than glad to answer them. It's just that simple.
But I didn't bring my cards out tonight.
You weren't meant to. Isn't acceptance a wonderful thing? It's like, there are times when I'll lay down 5, 6 cards. I just read one of them because that's the answer. So you really don't need them. The purpose of the cards is to obviate the need for the cards.
JC and I have pretty much been following the course of conversations on here later on our live Tuesday talks. And the comments that we're getting, people are just, you said that? Like, but it's like the guy this morning. I mean, I got bombarded at 6:32 this morning with a, please don't post your morning missive on our page anymore. We're not able to find the humor in it. I'm like, well, there's your humor.
Or you don't have any.
Yeah.
Which judgmental me says is another form of walk around dead.
Well,
the people we worked with before had no sense of humor. None. Unless it was at the expense of another person, which I find rather awful.
Well, I've always, I would rather throw myself under the bus and laugh at myself than be the gossip,
Oh, please. You take somebody's business in the street, you're going to meet yours there. So I found a new TV show. Get ready. It is called Extreme Cheapskates. It's on TLC. There's a woman who is planning a wedding for her daughter are you ready? Her budget is $750. She went to a venue that was $2,250 and tried to talk them down. That didn't work real well. And I'm thinking, not that long, a couple years ago, I did a whole entire wedding for my daughter bought a $20,000 wedding and I pulled it off for $12,000 because I did it all myself. Thank you. I staged it. I bought tents. I had curtains tied on with ribbons in her colors. I got furniture. Lisa did table runners. I did the flowers. I did the food. The only thing I didn't do was the wedding cake because I couldn't see myself driving around with a wedding cake in the back of my car in the middle of July. That's not going to happen. So I did buy the cake. Other than that, I had mead made for the wedding. We did everything for $12,000, including she found a place that had gently used bridal garments, and she got her wedding gown for, I think it was $200, and they dry cleaned it for her and relaced it for her. How cool is that?
That's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
These people that are spending thousands and thousands and thousands.
Insane.
What are you teaching your children
Mm-hmm.
when you spend that much money on their wedding?
Mm-hmm.
You got to ask yourself. I mean, wouldn't that money have been better spent elsewhere?
When in doubt,
It's
feed
like
people.
it's like that monument that monumental asshat yesterday. How many millions and millions and millions of dollars were wasted on that effort?
Mm-hmm.
That's been done. Okay, that's been done hundreds of times. So it's nothing new. So he spent all of that money. All of that money could have you could have spent that money at Pine Ridge
Mm-hmm.
and built houses for almost everybody on the reservation.
Indeed.
You could have spent that money at Wind River and fed and clothed everybody on the reservation for the next decade.
Absolutely.
You could have spent that money at Cheyenne River and put college education on the table for people that have never even thought college.
Absolutely.
For the next generation. That's my missive this morning. The 1%ers need to get off their hats.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because that's really not where your hats are supposed to be.
True. It's not attractive.
You like how I worded that?
Yes. I appreciate that. Well, or they could just have made sure that the elders at Pine Ridge had heat in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Because they don't always, which is hard to believe. That's why when I say buy clothes for Native kids, well, they don't need clothes. Yeah, they do. You don't know how cold it gets in those
and
mountains.
shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Winter shoes, not
Linens, $15. You could buy them food. Is this asking too much? I don't think so. When you spend that on a lousy coffee or a cheap pizza.
And look, they've got this tiny home project in San Fran. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For a small investment of $2,500, you can house a veteran.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Imagine how many veterans could have been housed by that
Big
set on
chunk
his
of money.
pipe yesterday.
Well, that's why we're also very much in the corner of veterans' rights and veterans' needs and fulfilling them any way we can. And it doesn't require a college degree. It requires a degree of compassion.
Yes.
That's all. Send a thank you note to a wounded warrior through the Wounded Warriors Project. What is it? It costs you a stamp, which is what, 40 cents?
Look,
38.
Our wonderful president erased $55.7 million in student debt. You know what the uprighteous right is complaining about?
What?
You're going to make them all communist.
Oh, Lord. Fine.
Look, they don't even know. Half of them wouldn't recognize a communist if they met one. And socialism is something they've been actually living with for like the last 70 years to one degree or another.
With the exception of socialized medicine, which is a brilliant thing.
Socialized medicine would actually be benefit to so many people.
Absolutely.
But no.
I mean, it does have rough moments. I was in London on the day they got their payments
I
and
have a
all.
pointy hat in the corner with the words DUNCE wrote on it in really pretty purple letters.
Very good.
Okay. Okay.
Very good. But I mean, you could tell the people that were there to get a fix. They weren't getting healed, they were getting a fix. But, you know, there's always going to be people that scam the system. That is a given. That's
Yeah.
a given. It's sad. It's like when I ran the the homeless shelter. Oh, boy. 5 days a week, 12 hours a day for 3 years. We gave out 2,000 bus passes, 2,000 new suits of clothes, 2,000 resumes, 2,000 small piles of money, business suits, and opportunities. Lined them up with job interviews, and not one person got a job in 3 years. What does that tell you? They're not going to.
Look, here's another thing that's headlining in Reuters Raw.
Mm.
The Catholic Church is getting ready to be taxed for the first time ever by the European Union.
How exciting!
It's tremendously exciting. Okay, somebody in Portsmouth, Maine,
Yes.
complained, we can't tax the church. The church supports our soul.
Hmm.
I would like you to sit down with your calculator and figure out how much you've tithed to the church in your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Multiply that by 1 billion people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Divide that by 27. Multiply that by 0.072.
Okay.
Okay. They have made $4,700 quadrillion
Mm-hmm.
on idiots.
Well, not tithed any of it back. Let's talk about residential schools. Hello. The sins of the priests, which are numerous.
Yeah. And it's not just the priest.
There should be some. Oh yeah, there should be some reparations there somewhere.
Yeah. Reparations, making them give all their land back that they surreptitiously land grabbed.
Mm-hmm.
Churches, look, I'm a pastor with a following of 2,000 people. Not one person tithes me.
No.
I don't ask them to. Now, if somebody wants to buy my jewelry, that's great. But that's not tithing. That's making a purchase.
I will take money for weddings if the mother's nasty. If I have a nasty mother, she's got to pay me. Okay? I had one get right in my face. And she said, I have married off 5 daughters. This is my 6th daughter, and I'm getting my money's worth. Nose to nose to me. And I said, of course you are. And I did a beautiful wedding. It was in the church back when I was still in service. And as soon as it was done, they lined up for pictures. I left. When I walked there into the church, and Betty, our cleaning ladies, were there, and they said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm off like a prom gown because this mother is a monster. Hopped in the car and left. It's like, fine. I did a beautiful wedding. They got pictures of me during the service. After that, never you mind.
Now, we offer a flat rate fee for me just to tie the knot for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty basic, and you're going to get about as much as if you go down to the courthouse and get the justice piece to do it.
Sure.
And then we have a package that we offer that gives you 6 months of counseling.
Sweet.
4 months before, 2 months after, a little bit of guidance, some ceremony to go along with it, a proper hand fasting ceremony with a feast and a reception.
Very good.
Now, see, that's something worth paying for.
Sure.
Because you're getting more than just tying the knot.
What I do is I run natal charts for the bridegroom, groom, and then I run a composite chart for them, and we'll go around basically hit the transits for the next 2 to 4 years, and
Yeah.
I'm always available to them. You know, but I'll charge a fee for weddings. I'll charge a fee for distance. But funerals and christenings, I don't take money for that. That's just wrong.
Um,
Just wrong.
I believe in the old way. If you want to cross my palm with a 10 spot for saying a kind word at the funeral, that's you giving the minister a tip
Mm-hmm.
for being nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to be nice anyway because it's somebody's funeral and
Sure.
they've crossed into the great beyond and they're sitting down with my boss.
Yep.
You know, so I'm going to be nice regardless. But if somebody wants to give me a tip for doing that, that's on them. That's
Sure.
I don't charge a fee for death services.
It's tacky. It's
Yeah.
tacky. It's like I discovered back when my mother died that you have to pay to get an obituary in the paper. And in some states it's mandatory. So it's mandatory, but you're still paying for it. That makes no sense.
As far as pre-birth and birth blessings, I will feast you, bless your baby, bless you and your union, and move you on out the door because that's what we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
And as long as it's done with respect and reverence, that's what really, really matters. That's the heart of it. So, like I said, if I get a stinky mother, she's going to pay. And half the time they're paying more for the ice sculpture than they are for me. So that's fine.
Yeah.
And I give them their choice. Yeah, I help them write their vows, the whole nine, which is only fair. And there's going to be a lot rolling back in probably the end of the summer because so many weddings have been rescheduled because of the bug.
I'm writing a clause into our wedding planning service that says sometimes the pastor loses his mind and what comes out isn't what you wrote.
I had a couple come to me once.
Occurs.
The man and woman,
he'll get you there.
I had a couple come to me who had been living together for like 15 years, and the groom said, I prefer to do a shack job, but she wants a wedding, so I guess it's okay. And I said, lovely. And I wrote him such vows that if he spits on the sidewalk when she's standing on it, his private parts will fall off. You know what I mean? It was like, no, buddy. Do you want to disrespect this woman who's been with you, put up with you, your obnoxious self for 15 years, and you think I'm going to give you a free pass? Mm-mm. And I'm going to make sure you say your vows nice and loud so everybody can hear it.
Well, I sat down with JC and Rory, both individually and as a couple, to help them write their vows and to make sure they said exactly what they wanted to say, and to get it all out on paper to where it was, it had meaning. And they wrote beautiful vows, and I left them at home. But hey, their hand fasting went off beautifully.
There you go.
I said most everything that they intended to say, and they actually remembered their personal vows, so they were able to recite their vows.
It's all good.
It was all good.
It's all good. And see, the Leo stuff right now is about the inner argument between reason and passion. Okay? We've got Venus, Mars, and Leo. That is penguin lust. That is passion. It is blue burning. It makes no sense whatsoever. Opposing Saturn and Aquarius that says, really? Really? Nobody wants to be told they have to grow up. Saturn says, grow up. Grow up some. No matter where you are, you can always mature a bit.
Look, you can grow by learning something new. And growing up is subjective. How old am I going to be this year?
Somewhere between 39 and death. That's where I am.
Yeah. And it really doesn't matter. They made me keep track of it because I need to know when certain things are going to happen. Like, I'm going to get a discount this year. Yeah.
Or like the ad that says you have to check for colorectal cancer when you're 45. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
Look,
not. No.
for those that fall
No.
into that category of every time they suggest something, I'm going to go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a thought process for you that you may not have thought of. Okay, for every pharmaceutical they issue you after they give you said test,
Mm-hmm.
there is a 30 to 35% chance that you're going to get exactly what they tested you for.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, because they make more money if they can actually give you colorectal cancer
Mm-hmm.
than if you walk away from the test.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to give you colorectal cancer.
Mm-hmm. And once you have it, you can heal it with a macrobiotic diet. My mentor, Mr. Bill Duffy, the man who was married to Gloria Swanson, you remember her, don't you? Created he and Misha Kushi created the macrobiotic diet in the 70s. And it's basically no dairy,
Yeah.
not a lot of meat, lots of rice, tofu, that kind of stuff. Healthy, eating healthfully. What does that cost? Same as eating junk. Actually, eating junk costs more.
That's subjective. It depends on the junk.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can eat healthy a whole lot easier than you can eat
Garbage.
unhealthy.
Yeah.
Because in the long run, eating healthier is going to cause less issues. Look, I've been told 3 separate times that I have some of the worst types of cancer
Mm.
you could possibly have.
Mm.
Well, the first time they told me that I had stage 4 leukemia.
Mm.
I wasn't even sick.
Okay.
I went
Like
to
that
another.
happens.
I went to a naturopath. I had another biopsy done. The naturopath had the screenings done on my biopsy. Yeah, the biopsy was painful, but it was worth it because I didn't have to take the drugs that they were going to give me
Exactly.
because
And get sicker.
I didn't have stage 4 bone marrow cancer.
And get sicker. But you know what time it is?
I
Yeah,
had
it
the
is.
peoples. It's break time.
Yes, it is. You know, most Americans would rather not hear the words, "We're still in Iraq." We'd rather not have to say them. But for more than 5,500 of our military men and women who are still there, we need them to be there. We ask them to go. Perhaps we'd rather not think about it, but imagine what it's like for them. They need to know they have the full support of their fellow Americans and that people back home understand they're once again risking their lives for us. Freedom isn't free. These courageous individuals need support from the USO, and we're determined to give them whatever they need to make sure they know, absolutely, positively know, that their fellow Americans back home value their service and sacrifice. Please let them know you stand with them by sending any donation you can to the USO. It's uso.org. How simple is that?
I got another one for you.
Great.
Operation Homefront.
Okay.
They help veterans in need, veterans in crisis,
Excellent.
veterans at risk of being homeless, veterans at risk of being hungry. Reach out to them, operationhomefront.com, and make a charitable donation if it's in your nature.
Take your Mountain Dew empties, throw them in a bag, go to the bottle machine. They'll give you a little tag thing. Get the money from the cashier. How rough was that? Put it in the bank, write a check. Or just put it in the bank, write a check. Or just write a check. It's that simple.
Yeah. Hey, they've stepped in when other people wouldn't and helped where other people couldn't in situations that would amaze you.
Excellent.
They are part of the group that's doing the homes for veterans that I was talking
Brilliant.
about in San Francisco.
Brilliant.
It's a tiny home project, and I've been following it on YouTube. Amazing the things you can find on YouTube to follow that are.
Oh, I get lost in YouTube. Lost. Lost. It's like, okay, what's this one? And what's this one? That's what. Oh,
I resisted for over a decade, and Sweetie is a YouTube nut. She loves it.
I am as well. No excuse.
You can actually get Reuters live raw news on YouTube.
Except for the DIY, because I had to change the doorknob in the kitchen, which was hell. Okay. And I fought with it and I wiggled with it and I sat on a milk crate and cursed at it and I couldn't get, and Magic Mike came over and he went, pop, 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 done. And I went, okay, you're that guy on YouTube, aren't you? No. Well, you might as well be. It's real simple. Line this up, put in 3 screws, you're done. No, not on my door, but that's okay. It got fixed eventually. The joys of home ownership. There's always a project, isn't there? Always. Always. What's sadder are the people across the street from me that bought these brand new $600,000 and $700,000 homes, and they have had repair crews there every weekend. It sort of makes you wonder about the Puritan work ethic. It's really about the crappy code that nobody follows in Royal Oak.
Apparently, I accidentally shared us to relearning the old ways.
Mm.
Somebody's commented, really? Sorry. Got my hands full here. I'm sharing this all over the place.
Well, yeah.
I feel like people deserve a chance to hear us laugh.
Or to be heard. And the fact that we're getting so many hits on the podcast is just mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. There's still some old Potomatics hanging out up there. Go figure. So we thank you. Thank you for telling your friends and referring us to your friends, because that's what we're about. Kind of like having coffee with a friend.
Well, we're trying to one person at a time change the way people think about things that have already gone by. Okay.
Yep. And things that are never coming back.
It's already happened. It's baggage.
Mm-hmm.
If it's already happened, it's something you can let go of. And as far as relearning the old ways, the elders, the ancients had ways of letting go of the past that we can't seem to wrap our heads around.
Well, that was a time of massive enlightenment. You know, it's gonna take a lot of kicks to the posterior or smacks to the forehead to get us back in that level. That people knew when to die, because this is a good day to die. And they knew that they would come back with a new set of goals, and they would check on the souls they left behind, and life goes on. And there was no fear of death, because death was just part of living.
It was part of the cycle.
Yeah.
You know, we lived in matriarchal societies for the most part all over the globe.
Absolutely.
And in a matriarchal society, they teach you the true cycles of life.
Yep.
Birth, death, and rebirth.
Absolutely.
It happens. It goes around and around and around and around, and we tend to repeat the mistakes we make if we don't learn from them.
Indeed. And they get bigger.
Yeah.
They
One
get
way
bigger.
out of proportion.
Mm-hmm. And then you get drama. Oh, Lord, drama. Save me from drama.
Well, you've got now 12 social media networks.
Mm-hmm.
3/4 of them are nothing but drama.
True.
The other fourth is trying to get a grip on the drama, but failing miserably because people are just so intent on gossip this, gossip that, drama this, drama that.
Yep.
Look, who cares what my neighbor's doing? They're the ones doing it. Okay?
Absolutely.
If they're not hurting me, if they're not hurting mine, if they're not intending harm to me or mine, let them be. If your neighbor is a pernicious pain in the rear end, tell him he's a pernicious pain in the rear end. He may change, he may not. Odds are he won't. But if you hit him at the right day, at the right moment, at the right time, you're going to change his mind, because he's going to, whoa.
And if he stays carved in stone, if he stays stuck on stupid, this is an individual who's teaching the rest of us what not to be.
Yeah.
So there's a glory in that. One, we've taken on no nasty karma. They have a lot of karma coming. Oh, the karma bus is going to back up on them. Yeah, it is. Drag them down the tracks. So it's just a better way to live. I mean, I got the douche across the street, who I'm relatively certain will always be a douche. He just is. The man can't help himself.
But there's a certain zen in that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he brags about his wife working and him not working. It's like,
If you can find the zen of him being a douche, letting his wife support him, and having all of his bad habits, if you can find the zen of that, he no longer has the ability to affect you one way or the other.
And he never really did.
Right.
When they first moved in,
that's actually the zen of that. See,
they moved in on Halloween, and she was massively pregnant. And he stood out front and smoked cigarettes while she carried all the boxes up the stairs and in the house. And I thought, well, we have a winner. We have a winner. And I know, because they were standing out there talking with him, they got the money, the down payment to buy the house from her parents.
mm-hmm.
So she has to keep working because they are her parents.
Eileen said, not my neighbor. I've tried talking to them about certain issues. No luck. I plan on moving as soon as it's feasible. Sometimes that's all you can do, Eileen. Sometimes if they're that invasive, that pervasive, you just have to throw in the towel.
Get out of Dodge. Yeah.
Because if you don't throw in the towel, if you sit and wait it out and sit and one day they're going to change one day. Look, you found the one person in 100 that's so adamant, so dead set against change that nothing you say or do is going to change that.
That's right.
Give up on them. Don't waste your energy on them.
Back in the other house, the one I lost in the divorce, the next door neighbor poisoned my cat because I'm an astrologer. That made it right to him. And he even sent his little boy over to tell me about it. And they poisoned my little doofy cat, my little orange cat. And it was so heartbreaking. And I thought, you are such a jerk. There's no point in talking to you. And so I went Amish. I would be out working in the yard. He'd walk out. I wouldn't see him. He'd walk past me. I wouldn't see him. I ignored him. I figured, if Mom always said, if you can't say something nice, dummy up. So I dummied up. And eventually the wife got the clue and left him with the rotten kids. And then the hoochie mama moved in with her kids. It was even more exciting. But, it's like, I just don't want to play. If you want to... Everyone I meet is my spiritual teacher, for good or for bad. If you teach me something wonderful, I thank you for it. If you teach me how to be loathsome, I thank you for it. Because we all have that. We all have a shadow side. And I don't want my shadow coming over me. There will be times when I will be moved into righteous indignation, but not often. And it has to be a real egregious act. It has to be. You're hurting a senior, you're hurting a child, you're hurting an animal, you're hurting Mother Earth, hurting one of my beloveds. Okay.
No, I'm the one that's righteously indignant all the time.
Proud of you.
Eileen said, I think it's God's way of nudging me forward. They've now tried to tell me when I can do yard work so their dog won't bark when I'm outside. Look, go do your yard work. If the dog barks, report it.
Peanut butter on bread. Shuts up dogs.
Yeah.
What I did with the neighbor, who was such a jerk face, I took a pink piece of paper and I wrote his name on it like 50 times and I put it on the fridge. And every time I thought about him, I sent love in that direction. Now, this was a man who couldn't process love. And it kept him away from me. So if you send out love, you get back tenfold. Love, I send out love, I got nothing back. That's fine.
Right.
Because we had nothing to share. Nothing to share.
Miss Castellano said, Laurel must be living in Chicago by September 5th. How will this move in housing go? And will Jonathan be in his new position in Michigan by mid-August? Or will that be a no-go?
Okay, let's start with Laurel, who is, by the way, I apologize to Linda every time because Laurel's my astral twin. And I know that Laurel is as rotten now as I was before I grew up. Laurel's funny growing up. Laurel's already got help. She's already got somebody helping her. And she has pretty much everything she needs to set things up. And it's financially, it's a really smart move. So that's very good. So that's nice. And the fact that she's got a support crew of sorts there, she's only 2.5 hours away. It's all good. As far as Jonathan is concerned, it's weird. It's like a good bad. It's a good move, but they need him like yesterday. So something's already in a heck of a mess. But he'll make you proud because he does. I'm a little worried about his health, his back in particular. But other than that, he's going to be fine. Remember, low back pain is lack of emotional support. Mid back pain is lack of financial support. And pain up in the shoulders and moving into carpal tunnel and TMJ. It's all about control issues. And we know this is a cycle with Uranus and Taurus that control freaks are melting down right and left. Pray for them. Pray for them that they find some firm ground upon which they can
I
stand.
feel for both of my ex-wives.
I did that a long time ago. I looked at all my exes and I have a litany of them. And I thought, I hope after all this, your life is good. I mean, you have to make it good. You can't make amends to me.
I've forgiven them both.
You have to.
The first one has now walked around with 19 different types of cancer.
Mm.
I didn't do anything.
Oh God, no. I had a friend
himself, but
I had a friend Cleo that had cancer that kept moving around her body, and it was on her elbow, it was in her arm. She had the old-fashioned mastectomy, the horrible one, and just kept moving around till she divorced her husband. Turns out he was the cancer. He was robbing her of capacity to feel joy and have a fulfilling life. Which she's a brilliant woman.
Had trapped me into going to church, so I ended up putting preachers in jail.
Well,
she was such a control freak that I actually was glad she left. I moped for about a day and a half, and I moved on with life.
That's like falling in love in high school. He's gone. I love him. He's gone. I love him. Oh, he's gone.
Well, to be honest, I loved her kids, but let's just say I'm a little bit more active and I'm a little bit more outgoing. And don't try to put somebody like me in church. It's not going to go well for anybody.
No.
Look, I hold myself to a high standard. If you're going to be a preacher, I'm going to hold you to that same high standard.
Exactly.
If I find you failing that standard, I'm going to make it known. It's just.
We were in church one day back when we had the homeless shelter, right? We had him from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. He started this without telling me. So he added 60 hours a week to what I was already doing there, which is about 20 or 30. And one day I walked in, he was all about how grand he was, getting his face in the paper and his name in the paper. He was in the kitchen and he was basting a little pork loin. We had 42 people to feed. He had a pork loin, which would have had 6 of them, maybe 8 if they didn't eat much. And there was a black man standing next to him, and he called him Master Chuck. And my jaw locked. Master? We don't call people master anymore unless they're a genie. Genie says, Master, what do you want? But no, master. And he just beamed. He was like, yeah, that's right. I'm your master. Oh, my God. He wasn't a master. He was a B word.
Yeah.
And when I left, he said, it's been a good 7 years. It was 13. 13. And I thought, were there 7 good years in the 13? No, there weren't. And I was codependent enough to think that I could balance out his negativity. Fool that I am. Because he would forget funerals. He would forget suicide prevention, counseling sessions. He'd forget weddings. And I was always there, so I was always ready, combat ready to do what I needed to do. And the day I left, I was walking out. I said goodbye to the church. And for a minute, I thought, does this mean I'm leaving my ministry? No, I'm just finding better things to do with my time. Ministry is part of me. That's my calling. That doesn't go away. The fact that I'm not here to endure all the politics and the foolishness and the lies, that's kind of a gift.
Yeah.
Because he would say yes to everybody. He was an Aquarius. He would say yes to everybody. And he wouldn't listen. Sure, yeah, no problem. Okay.
Made a lot of promises.
Mm-hmm.
And look, if you're going to make a promise and you fall down on the promise, because people do fall down on promises.
It's human. Yeah,
It's human. Make amends for falling down on the promise. Don't
absolutely.
don't let it be water under the bridge that you don't think twice about.
Well, it's like the promise of marriage. I actually respect divorced people more than married people who are staying together in a bad situation because they're teaching their children to stay in a crap marriage because you're married. You don't want to have to pay alimony, child support. You don't want to have to share the pickle forks, you know. So I actually do for people, and so far, knock on Micah, uh, I've done about 30 years of weddings that I've never had a couple break up ever. Although I had one where the groom was so sick he couldn't say his vows, and I held his hand and said his vows for him. Beautiful man. But
I'll be honest with you. I pushed JC and Rory to their utmost. I pushed them into to basically knock down, drag out fights,
hmm
pre-marriage, pre-nuptials, pre-hand fasting,
hmm
for the simple reason that they needed to figure out that they could have a fight and get past it.
exactly. You cannot have resolution without conflict.
No,
You
and
have to go through the conflict first. You can't
you
just
can't
let
have
it hang in the
lasting
air.
commitment if you can't resolve conflict.
hmm
And they planned. They told me early on they planned to do the same thing that Sings and I did. They were going to jump the fire in the ladies' presence,
Beautiful,
ask the ladies to bless them with a lifelong bond.
beautiful.
And they did. We had two separate ceremonies for them: the public ceremony and then the ceremony before the goddess.
Sure.
And you know, prior to them jumping the fire was maybe 2 inches tall.
hmm
Because I'm a realist. You're both wearing dresses. You're going to jump the fire.
Let's not cremate them.
Yeah, we don't want to see you burst into flame on your
No,
wedding night.
that's
So I
unfortunate.
built a small fire off from our main fire that we were using to cook and heat with. And just as they were getting ready to jump the fire, the goddess made her presence known. The fire went from 2 inches tall to 7 feet tall, and they jumped through the
Sweet, sweet.
nothing caught on fire, thankfully, but we knew at that moment that they had been blessed with the union that they chose.
That they deserve.
Yeah.
That they deserve. And that's
Um,
just it. We get the relationships we deserve. If you do not love yourself, I guarantee
and
you will draw somebody into your life that doesn't love you either.
people told them, "Y'all are crazy. Y'all are crazy. You're too young." Well, no. JC at 23 is older than most of the 50-year-olds I know,
hmm
at least mentally and compassionately.
Beautiful.
And Rory will forever be a 29 and holding child for us because she's going to stay forever young and move
Sure.
forward.
Sure. Just like Sings.
Yeah.
Just like
Um,
Sings.
they're going to help us change the world.
Exactly. One person at a time. Now, I will admit, every time I got married, those 3.5 times, it was forever. I planned to have it forever. And then it shape shifted into something I'd never seen before, especially the first one. And I couldn't do that forever to my children. I couldn't do that forever to the world. It was like, this is so. Uh, Marriage is a sacrament. It's a promise between two people and God. If you can't live up to the sacrament, don't take it. How's that for simple?
True.
Do you like that tacky man? We did a shack job 15 years. Oh my God. Such disrespect.
Um,
Such massive disrespect.
I honestly made it past the 7-year itch both times,
Hmm.
and the second time, she I had made plans for our anniversary. It was our ninth anniversary, and I got off work early. I went home. I made a 5-star meal.
Mm-hmm.
I cleaned and scrubbed the whole house.
Beautiful.
I laid out candles around the bathtub because I'd made arrangements for the kids not to be home for 2 days.
Perfect.
I bought her favorite wine. I bought her favorite chocolates. There was a trail of rose petals from the door to the bathroom and
Mhm.
all of the romance things and stuff. And Saturday morning, after I'd sat there all night watching my meal wither on the stove,
Mm.
I started calling around because I'd already called all the hospitals. I'd already called
Oh, I did that one. I did that one.
all of the local police stations.
Mm-hmm.
Called everywhere I could think of. Called her parents. Called her sister. Called her brother. Um, Nobody knew where she was. So I once again went out and rebought her anniversary meal
Mm-hmm.
and prepared the same 5-star meal and sat there and waited. She had a shift at work, and I figured, she'll do her shift. Maybe something happened, and she got held over last night and had to stay in a ward.
Yeah, right.
Nurse.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah.
Um, 8:30 a.m. Sunday morning, she called me and said, "I'm sorry, I won't be home until you're gone."
Mm.
Um, I decided to stay the weekend with her sister and brother-in-law,
Mm.
who, of course, lied to me conveniently when I called looking for her. The
Nice.
kids showed up because the kids had been staying with friends. Um, I told them where their mom was. They quietly packed a bag and got in the car and drove across town to Auntie's house instead of staying with dear old Steve.
Yeah.
Um, so I called my dad and I called my brother and told my brother I needed a couch. And my brother said, "Okay, you got a couch." And I packed what I needed, what was necessary to maintain a week at work,
Sure.
and some spare clothes, and my fishing poles, and my altar. And I left.
Okay.
Um, 2 days later, her brother called and said, "Aren't you going to say anything?" I said, "Well, I was
Why?
waiting. I was waiting for the weekend. I was going to ask if I could come back and get the rest of my stuff." "Oh, we've got all your stuff packed up. Is there some place I can drop it off?"
Nice.
I said, "Sure, you can take it to my dad's house."
Hmm.
I mean, if they're going to take it and drop it off somewhere, I might as well make them take it as far as I can make them take it and drop it off.
True. True.
So I made them drive 2.5 hours,
Hmm.
vindictively. And that was the last thing I said to any of them until I asked her for divorce papers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still waiting on the divorce papers. She makes $80,000 a year, and she expects a disabled veteran to pay for the divorce
Mm. Sure.
after he paid her way through nursing school.
Nice of you.
Yeah. But hey, I don't bear any grudges. She's getting the karma she deserves.
And the people we were back then made choices that were good for the people we were back then.
Yeah.
Now we look at it and say, wow, that was asinine. But in the moment, it felt right. It felt really right. And with the kids, because they're kids as far as I'm concerned, they were already spiritually advanced enough to make the right choices.
Yeah. One yes, one no, one.
Yeah, but their intent was there. Their intent was clear and pure. That's what really
One followed
matters.
mommy's route, and one is he had a run in with a near death experience, and
Mhm.
it's something I had warned him about beforehand. So he's kind of taken a different tack. Her daughter, on the other hand, has got pregnant as a 15-year-old.
Mm.
Yeah,
Babies making babies.
yeah. And then got in trouble with the law, and then got
Good.
law again, and then got pregnant again. So
Oh my.
yeah, um, I was too restrictive. I wouldn't let the young daughter go to party zones and party places and things like that.
Hmm.
And that was one of the reasons they gave for the separation.
Because you were a good parent.
I was trying to be a good parent.
Shame on you for being a good parent. It's that happy time again. Break time. Bear in mind that AIM is not an organization. As its name implies, it's a movement. Within that movement, organizations will come and go. No one person or special group of people runs AIM, so don't confuse them with marching under the banner and being altogether worthy. AIM is the people. AIM will be there when every one of us living today is gone. AIM will raise new leaders in every generation. Crazy Horse belonged to AIM. Sitting Bull belonged to AIM. They belong to us still, and we belong to them. There are no followers in AIM. We're all leaders. We're each an army of one working for the survival of our people and a blessed Mother Earth. This isn't rhetoric. This is commitment. This is who we are in the spirit of Crazy Horse, Leonard Peltier. Leonard Peltier is an amazing man. He's been in prison forever just for being a native. Uh, and we need to let him know how much we appreciate his genius. You can write to him at number 89637 132, USP Coleman, P.O. Box 1033, Coleman, Florida 33521. You can read his poetry, you can buy his t shirts, do whatever you can. Just send him a note and let him know he's certainly not been forgotten. And we appreciate the fact he's grand wisdom keeper. Speaking of wisdom keepers, our brother, Superman, is coming out with this new CD medicine bundle anytime now.
The CD has dropped.
Anytime now, yes, yes, yes.
The CD dropped yesterday at midnight.
I ordered them today, but I don't know when they'll be in. So you go right to Superman on Facebook, and there's a link.
I get oh, I get all of the alerts up front.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I
I prefer to bug him.
I grew up calling him by his nickname,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't actually realize that his nickname and his given name, which he actually prefers his nickname,
Mm-hmm.
uh, he doesn't associate with his given name because it was given to him by the residential school system.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, uh, he gets confused with a lot of people confuse him for a popular female artist out there on the circuit.
Not even close.
Not even close. You know, his given name's Christian, but his what everybody calls him is Billy.
Christian Parrish, yes.
Yeah.
With that beautiful son, who is not old enough to have a gorgeous wife, a beautiful daughter. It's not fair.
You know he's 20.
I don't believe it. Not for a minute. Mm-hmm.
When did you produce him?
When you were 12.
I'm like,
And his
hold
wife
up.
and his wife,
Really?
and when you see him dancing and you see that beautiful beadwork,
Mm.
family has done all that for him.
Sings
Which
has
is how it
started
should be.
doing beadwork. I might be getting a beadwork show.
I miss beadwork. I miss it. I
She's
miss
doing
it.
some really pretty stuff. She kind of doubts herself because it's not something she grew up doing, but it's something she's taken to naturally,
Mhm.
and she's producing some beautiful patterns. I'm excited.
She can do earrings too. Those would sell very well.
Oh yeah. Well, we do a whole lot of earrings,
Mhm.
a whole lot of animal medicine necklaces, and
Mhm.
then we do our one-off custom chokers and malas. Um, our medicine chokers are designed in the Oglala fashion. I don't use the same beads that you're going to see on the reservation because I have reservations about using pony beads.
Mhm.
I've done my research. I know what pony beads are.
Mhm.
They're an insult.
Okay.
Um, thing
And
about it,
there's some.
you Manhattan was purchased for a handful of pony beads.
They're probably made in China.
No, they weren't made in China at that time. They were made in a glass factory.
I mean now.
But yeah, the pony beads you get now aren't even made in the same place or the same way as they were when
Yeah.
They were traded to us for our good land.
Mm-hmm.
I have moved away from harvested gemstone beading.
Mm-hmm.
So you won't find me using diamonds because there are no longer any ethically harvested diamonds in the world. Um, but there are a lot of small concerns out there in the world that do go out and organically dig through the topsoil, and
Sure.
what they harvest, they turn into beads
Beautiful.
or small cabochons, or
Mm-hmm.
So I've partnered myself with these people so that I can get beads that aren't tainted.
Well, and like you said, and Jim said before, it's not appropriation, it's appreciation. It's out of
Yeah,
respect. It's out of respect. There's some things you're just not going to use.
yeah. Um,
That's important.
I can still do tribal colors for 37 nations
Mm-hmm.
out of what I keep on hand. And if you're one of those peculiar tribes that has odd colors, I'll work with you
Mm-hmm.
because I can find them.
Yeah.
Um,
I generally buy something before I need it, or I'll make something before I need. I was uh, I was going to Merchant of Vino to get a set of Perrier champagne glasses for some event. And I got out of the car, and as I stepped out of the car, there was nothing on the ground. When I came back to the car, there was this little teeny tiny bird wing, and his feathers are more like fur. That's how little he was, but he did fly once. So I took it home and I wrapped it up and I put ribbons on it and I made it into a little prayer fan. And then about 2 months later, we were doing our drum camp for kids, Mother Peace Drum Camp for Kids, a summer program. And there was this little girl there, and she was feeding the birds and talking about sitting with sick birds. And I said, "Oh, what I got for you." And I pulled it out of my little medicine bundle and I gave it to her. And I said, "Remember, this is about perseverance." Because this little guy probably only flew once, but he made it all the way from wherever to downtown Royal Oak. So take this as a sign of faith, which she did. So I generally bump into things or find things or buy things shortly before I need them. And then somebody shows up and I really need oh, I know where you can find one. My basement warehouse.
right.
Although I did, when I quit vending, I took all my merchandise and I gave half of it to Jim Stovall. I gave the other half to my daughter because she has an eBay company. Because I thought, what's the point of having it sit in the basement in crates? It's not doing any good. That's not prosperity. It's just not.
It's just another form of stagnation. Um,
Exactly.
I'm not currently crafting anything heavy, but I still have to go to the crafting bench and move stuff around
Hmm.
at least once a day, because if I don't, then the next craft project just doesn't turn up.
Exactly.
I'm used to things falling into my lap. I need you to do this. I need. Uh, Look, I did a 168 bead mala in 3 hours.
Wow.
It sold and went.
Beautiful.
I'm sitting here waiting on communications from the guy that purchased the chokers the following day, so I can get his measurements, so I can get that out the door.
Hmm.
Uh, I believe in creating what I need.
Exactly.
If I need work, I create the work I need. If I need money, I create the money that I need. And that doesn't mean I go down to the printing machine and print off a couple $100 bills.
That's too easy.
Uh, well, you post a survival sale in the right spot at the right time, and people will buy.
Yep.
And when people buy, they see what you're capable of doing. I've already gotten bites from the picture that the guy that's so wonderfully happy with his mala
Hmm.
is sharing all. I've gotten bites off of that.
Wonderful.
Can you do this? Yeah, I can. You name your feather. You give me the bead types that you. If you need a medicine choker that'll keep you grounded, that medicine choker that'll keep you grounded in the eye of the storm.
Absolutely.
Even let you have some personal.
Hmm.
it's just I believe in what I do and I stand behind what I do. So when I do it, it does what it says it's going to do.
Exactly.
And that likes to stand behind her, and you get it, and it comes apart in 5 years or 2 years, and send it back to me. I'll put it back together for you.
Sure. It's how it should be. Stand behind your product. And I'm the same. I mean, I do not advertise. So all of my clients are word of mouth, and I thank you all for that.
You know, back when I was learning, I guess, ethics of business, I was 5 or 6 years old, going around with my uncle in his TV repair van. He worked for RCA Victor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was going out and repairing these people's TVs and never receiving any money for repairing the TVs. That's because they were all RCA Victor TVs. And RCA Victor had a policy: if your TV fails you, we'll fix it.
Sure.
And he was going out 20 and 30-year-old RCA Victor TVs. I mean, I'm talking TVs that still had the vacuum tubes in the back.
Mm-hmm.
He was going out and fixing these TVs on RCA Victor's dime.
Brilliant.
Everybody loved him. I was like,
Why not?
Hey.
What's not to love?
Now, if your TV breaks down now, and you
get a new one,
and you call the manufacturer, they tell you they ask you 5 questions, and if you answer any of the 5 questions in a way that we're not going to get a new TV out of them.
It's a thing I do, and they're generally $20, $30, something nominal. When you consider you're buying a $500, $600 television, you know. And the last one before that, last one, they sent me a box to ship it back, and from UPS, toss it in the back of his truck, and I thought, it's so good it's broken, because
I'm glad I wasn't just returning that because I couldn't afford it.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And when they brought the last one, they left it sitting out in the rain. It was wrapped in plastic, so it was okay.
Right.
Because we're talking a 40-pound television. It's not the same world. I was talking to him the other day, and I got a call, and I looked at my phone, and it'll keep. You know, it was Desiree Lipschitz again, whose life is always poo because and she's a mess. Mess.
Did I tell you Ashley fixed?
Yeah. You know who it is. You know who it is. She's been, and she said, I worked at IBM downtown when computers were new. And watched them light up. Thing you can carry in your pocket. It has a little calculator that, is better than an engineering degree. They sat inside the computers and watched them light up. How amazing is that? How amazing.
Maria said, planned obsolescence, a concept created during the Depression. You're off by a couple decades, but products are now made to break within a specified time frame.
Yeah, that's what Vance Packard called it. He called it planned obsolescence, and he said that when your Barbie doll breaks, you buy a new Barbie doll. There's no fixing it. But certain things, when a light bulb goes, it's gone. You have to get another one. So there are certain things that are just made to cars.
Actually, my infinite wisdom latched on to 2 Edison light bulbs about 25 years ago.
Sweet.
Those things are repairable.
How cool is that?
All you had to do was take the glass dome off of it and replace the filament.
Nice.
And reinstall the vacuum. How do you do that? Well, they used to make devices that made it easy to create a vacuum in your home.
Sure.
And people could repair their light bulbs without having to replace them, because light bulbs were not cheap then. I mean, they're reasonably priced now, and that's
dollar store.
That's the reason people shotgun them now. But yeah, original light bulbs were repairable instead of replaceable. And
this from a man who had how many thousands of failures before he got one that worked?
Mostly copied somebody else's idea to get the one that was repairable.
There is no such thing as an original thought. It does not exist. So when you're hit with moments of brilliance, thank whoever sent it your way and use it. And you'll know. You know, when something's right, it just resonates within you. You can't miss something like that. Or not. Or
The,
not.
the
Make peace
concept
with the not.
may have originated in the Depression, but it really became a thing of the now in the mid 70s.
That's when the book came out. It is called Vanishing Wilderness by Vance Packard.
Yeah.
And he talks about shoes aren't made to last a lifetime. They're not, because you'd never buy them again. Cars aren't made to last a lifetime. You wouldn't buy them again. So everything has an end date.
The best
A
pair
used
of
buy.
shoes I ever had, you could replace the soles on easier than you could replace the laces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
luckily we have a good shoemaker in the neighborhood, so I'm blessed.
Much that gets thrown away, thrown out, tossed to the curb.
Mm-hmm.
That 30 years, 50 years ago, when I was a wee little lad, my dad would drive around and pick up stuff that people had set out and take it home and fix it.
You need a license for that now.
Yeah.
You need to pay money to garbage pick. And this Extreme Cheapskates on TLC, the woman is going through the garbage to find things for her daughter's daughter. I spent $1,000 on your sister's wedding. I'm spending $750 on yours. You can't buy hors d'oeuvres for $750. She's out of her mind. And the daughter finally, I'm sitting here, elope. I'll do your wedding for free. Elope. Just run away. Elope. And the daughter's saying, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Finally, mom decided she was going to have the reception in a parking lot by the dumpsters. Now, if that isn't a great sign that your life is, I don't know what it is.
Apparently, mom didn't have a lot of faith in that marriage.
Mom was Leo. Mom was so self-involved. She spent the money on her dress and her hair and her shoes and her everything. And everybody else got what was left over. Which wouldn't have been much.
Yeah.
And Courtney's wedding, I bought a gown to wear for Courtney's wedding, but because I catered it, I never had time to change.
Right.
I had 250 people. My son-in-law's immediate family is 250 people. 250 people. I have 3. Okay. So luckily it wasn't in a church. It would have been a
little disparity there in the
little
rooms.
Yeah, it was a beautiful Higgins Lake. And I'm on a Sunday, we're watching for the DNR. We figured they don't work on Sunday. Got pontoon boats early, and the born again minister doing the whole rigmarole. And when he got all done, my friend Willow said, "So mote it be." And I said, "Now they're married." Now it's legal.
Sings and I might send out 50 invitations.
Okay, that's a good number because you can see people and you can talk to them, you can thank them. You get over 100, 150 people, it's impossible.
That's a very iffy 50.
Yeah.
Most of the people I would care to see at our hand fasting, I can count on 2 hands.
Mm-hmm. They probably can't make it either. I can't get past South Dakota. Unless you want to get married at Pine Ridge,
You'll be here. You'll be here. You have to be. You're performing the ceremony.
Time will tell. Time will tell. Or not.
We have altered our plans because pandemic stepped in and some things just didn't happen the way they were supposed to. Mm-hmm. So we altered.
No. They happened the way they were supposed to.
Oh yeah, they did. They actually happened exactly the way they were supposed to. And so we were buying this property, and I'm the only one that's actually walked the bulk of the property. Mm-hmm. Because I tend to wander and warble around when I'm out in the woods. Mm-hmm. But we have the foundations of a natural amphitheater on the bottom of our property.
Nice.
And one of the things that Sings and I want to do, because we're both ordained ministers, and we have entertained the thought of weddings and group weddings and stuff like that.
Hmm.
as one of the start. We're gonna naturescape the amphitheater and put in some natural seating.
Sure.
I guess we actually probably will build sort of a platform for a podium.
Sure.
Um, with all kinds of venues for people, kinds of venues for people to go and spend all time not dedicated to pagans.
Mm.
None of them are specifically pagan oriented. Now there
Yeah.
are a few across the country, scattered across the country, that if you ask them, and they will, but
Mm-mm.
they want to offer something the immersive pagan experience, jumping the fire at midnight, having your hands bound together with a cord that you set and painstakingly braided together with your intended.
Sure.
Um, while you listen to the mad ramblings of me or my sweetie, questioning your intent, questioning your durability,
Hmm.
pushing you into fights just to see how you react. It's the immersive pagan experience is a little bit different because back before the patriarchy, parents bartered for their children's marriage.
Sure.
Okay, and they had to make sure because this barter, if it went south, was going to cost.
Indeed.
So they put to come to almost blows.
Yeah.
They forced them to push the envelope. They stressed issue that the children were a compatible pair. The
To make
children,
sure they could work it, don't go there.
in
Self-serving. You shouldn't be getting married to begin with.
that spirit. We are currently located in sunny Colorado. Well, it's not sunny today. We're we have bad air quality warnings for the next 7 to 10 days until they get some of these fires under control.
Off and on. Right now, it's bright and beautiful, and everything's green and lush, and the flowers are colorful. And there's more thunderstorms coming tonight, which means huge
And again, you're
one
something
drain,
gone out again.
one drain in the whole basement. It's big fun. Got the mop, got the broom.
I always wondered about that. The water table right there on the river is just ridiculous. How did they? I'm like, other places that high, they usually don't put basements in.
When the first time I went to South Dakota, I was standing on Summit Peak, which is just before Reliance, looking down at the Big Muddy and thinking, Lewis and Clark must have been crazy, because they did that in a little wooden boat. And we're talking rapids, they must have been absolutely crazy, don't you think?
When the truth of that story comes out, and
Yes.
it's actually being written now,
Hmm.
they got a lot of assistance from a really friendly tribe of native
For natives, yeah.
people.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been for that assistance, they
They
would
wouldn't
have
have made
never made it past the mouth of the St. Louis.
True. True.
And then they gave all of the credit to them. They didn't mention the black guy that saved their life like 25 times.
It's typical.
I mean, if it hadn't been for the black guy and his wife, we'd have never known about Lewis and Clark. But we've conveniently whitewashed history
Absolutely.
to make it convenient to make lesser the people around us.
History is written in pencil by people who weren't there at the time.
And there's another quote about history. History is written by the
Yeah.
and that's not even true because I found out some startling truths when I traveled to Canada the first time officially. Yeah, Tecumseh.
Oh, he was not. You want to talk crazy? Bat shit crazy.
Tecumseh won the War of 1812, not the English,
He
not the
was
French, not the United States. Tecumseh won the War of 1812.
gonna overrun Detroit. He got to Monroe, ended up in Jackson with nothing to do, and then went back wherever he came from.
He ended
Crazy.
up in D.C.
Okay. Should have been in politics.
And then he ended up in Richmond, and then he ended up in somewhere further south in central North Carolina. He pretty much everywhere he went, he took everything he wanted and left.
Oh yeah.
That's not the way I was taught that history.
Okay, here's history for you. If you go to Monroe, don't. The only notable thing in Monroe is the solid waste disposal unit. I found that out because our van broke down and we opened the windows and sewage snuff came through the window. They have a statue of the heroic and amazing winner, George Armstrong Custer. Okay, now I'm thinking, I was at the greasy grass, fool. Okay, I know better. He sat on a mountaintop and watched Benteen and his men get slaughtered before he even rode down there, and that was behind everybody else. So, yeah, they have this big statue. Now, his wife was brilliant because she started a lecture tour talking about her husband, the hero, which also helped to feed the fable, don't you think? But this is back when women didn't take to the road to, preachify. But she did.
Yeah, he was
pretty. He was pretty, and he was crazy.
Pretty and
pretty crazy.
Virtual proof that they really at that time did think of the native indigenous people as less than savage.
Mm-hmm.
And they schooled them. They schooled them in a very visceral way.
Yep.
And then for the next 4 years, they continued to school them.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of that history doesn't get taught. Grandpa remembers the trek to Canada across the border to hide with the Nakota.
Mm-hmm.
He remembers the trip back across the border boldly, defiantly, with all of the thousands of braves. And he remembers that most of the women and children stayed behind with the Nakota.
Wow.
Because they went off to war. They went off to die.
Mm-hmm.
They came out of the
It's so noble to be willing to do something that you'll either win or die. That's living your truth.
Yeah. Well,
so they're all saints and martyrs as far as I'm concerned.
It's a good
it's that happy time again.
It might have been adopted by the Apache. It might have been adopted by American troops going into combat. It might have been the battle cry of the kamikaze. But before all of that, it's a good day to die was the way we lived.
Robbie Robertson and the Red Road Ensemble have made a song. This is a good day, a very, very good day to die. And he lists all the tribes and their decrees. Yeah. But before we get too far afield, we've heard a lot of talk about we've heard a lot of talk about the 99% lately. I want to talk to you about another percentage. The 1% of Americans volunteer for the armed services so you and I can sleep securely at night. Though we've been told the war's over, it's far from over for them. 1 in 3 returning troops address disorder. Less than 40%. Her troop staffs are failing. Think of all those fractured families. Veteran homelessness, nation's homeless are veterans, and so many more of the walking wounded are coming for these exceptional people. We are the land of the free because of the brave. It's up to us to welcome our veterans home with open arms and enlightened minds. We must let these brave men and women know they've not been forgotten. To take your place in this necessary healing, please go to ptsdusa.net, gotyour6.org, or thewoundedwarriorsproject.org. For veterans, there's a veteran crisis line at 1-800-273-TALK, and a National Veterans Foundation hotline at 1-888-777-4443. The saddest casualty of all is to be forgotten. It's up to you and I to see that doesn't happen. Not on our watch. Not now, not ever. Not ever, never.
Stephen made a comment. I'm going to use my new phraseology to repeat his comment. He was an arrogant hat sitter.
Well, I guess that's how you get a crease in it. I don't know. I'm not a hat person. I have one hat when I'm really old and completely insane. I will wear it a lot. It's called a Madame Blavatsky hat. It's like a pillbox with a big black veil. Sitting in my basement warehouse in mothballs. That'll smell like old people. Yeah, someday when I write the correct book, I'll have to take my picture in that hat. Yes, I will. In the meantime, not so much. I'm still working on my chins. My chin collection.
Your chin collection?
Well, first time I went in the hospital, the dietitian told me I had to lose weight. So I did. I went back a month later, and she said, "My God, you're losing weight." And I thought, make up your mind. Little size 5 twerp telling me.
I figured out how to combat the chin battle.
The beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I can't do that.
You can't tell how many chins I have.
That's why I love my mask. It hides my chins. It's like
I have one.
Everything else is fine.
I have one.
Too funny.
I'm still kind of trim from here up.
So figure we got another 5 to 6 weeks of this hot and cold energy cycle. Won't that be fun? And Saturn will continue to oppose it for 5 to 6 weeks.
Like I was saying at the beginning of at the top of the show, learn how to harness that fluctuation. Learn how to ride in that flow, and it doesn't become such a negative impact on.
No, it actually evens out. It evens out because you say, "Here's what I'd really like to do. Here's what I can practically get done without using myself up." Now, I must admit, been running ragged a little bit this week. Brother Jim Stovall's birthday is 17th, and I'm determined to get his chart and reports collated in the mail to get it there in time for his birthday.
Normally takes me,
there you go. It normally takes me 2 days. I got it done in about 1.5. I'll get it in the mail tomorrow, next day. He'll get it in time for his birthday. But I did that to myself. And like I said, I just kept charging on. It was like Mars was with me, and I knew as long as I kept working, I'd be okay. But if I stopped, I'd be eating ice cream. I'd be thinking, damn, we don't have any Twinkies. I would be in that faulty zone. It's bad enough I'm eating cereal for dinner because I don't feel like cooking, when it's 110 degrees. So, yeah. When the Venus is with you, be good to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. For some people, that in itself is a challenge. Just be good to yourself. And realize that if you push when the Venus is activated, unless you're doing something creative or something really comfortable, you're going to mess it up. I can't tell you how many times I've done is, I have this new software, which, by the way, I hate. And I say I hate bloody seldom. Sold to me by a woman who doesn't understand astrology or software. So the font's too small. And I will sit here with my little straight edge and my magic markers, my highlighters, and highlight. Green is a good money cycle. Pink is social. Orange is low energy. Yellow is changes. Blue is a turning point. Purple is the most creative you're ever going to be of the year. Blah, blah, blah. And I can't tell how many times I've been almost near the end of it and screwed up one line. And if I screw up one line, 1, I have to print the whole damn thing again because crap software. 2, I have to color code that page all over again, which is an hour or thereabouts. So when I'm that tired, I'll go weed. Or maybe I'll sit and have a cup of tea and think about it.
Dijin Kanaz said, I need to see that hat. And Eileen said, I know of at least one poor farmer who has lost lots of his crops due to this crazy wet weather.
Oh, yeah.
Look, there are people that are begging for this wet weather. The Southwest has been in such a state of drought because of poor land management.
Uh-huh.
and I'm trying to teach people. Um, the land management. Look, we don't need to cut all the trees down. That's not
No,
how you manage land.
it's not
Nor do
smart.
we need to uproot native grasses to
No.
plant fields of soybeans that are going to sit fallow in the field because nobody's buying soybeans right now.
And those things, we put them in the back garden and they blew all the way to the other end of the block. And people had soybeans coming up in their lawn. And I was like, oh, Lordy, unless they're looking to make tofu, this isn't going to happen anytime
Yeah.
soon.
And another thing, too, if we go back to heirloom seeds, if we go back to natural seeds that haven't been genetically modified, those heirloom seeds grew in the regions where they come from despite the weather or in spite of the weather or because of the weather. And you have drought resistant crops for areas that are prone to drought,
Absolutely.
and they grow naturally in that drought. And then you have wet weather compliant heirloom seeds that will take root and grow and produce in those wet, inclement environments. Um, the advent of genetically modified seeds changed a lot. It changed a lot for farming. It changed a lot for,
Did a lot of damage.
yeah, and it's still doing damage because the genetically.
And when you could do something as simple as eating the foods in season when they're in season, you're probably not going to get a whole bunch of chemicals. You're not going to get something that was forced to grow in a greenhouse, then chucked in the ground, then harvested.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. So, yeah, George, you're losing weight. You told me to lose weight. It was my face talking to your face and your face talking to mine. Fine. Never mind.
You know, I'm not trying to down Eileen's farmer. He's growing an organic farm in the thumb.
Mm-hmm.
Organic farms today are scary. I've been to a few. I used to service several. They're not what my ancestors would have considered organic.
Sure.
My ancestors dug a furrow and planted seed and let
Use
nature
buffalo
take
dump.
its course. Buffalo dung, some fish bones, some fish meal. Maybe if they were lucky enough to have goats, they didn't have to go out and weed it daily.
Goats will eat your trees. Goats are amazing. They eat everything in sight.
The elders planted things naturally and planted things in a way that they weren't affected by the things that seem to plague farmers today. And like I was saying at the top of the show, we go out and plant marigolds and sweet bay laurels and thyme and oregano around the property, and it limits the amount of insects that we see.
Oregano turns into a shrub.
Yeah,
I have a shrub. I have two
and it's
beautiful
great
shrubs.
it's great for keeping away biting flies.
Yeah. Oregano and chocolate mint. I put chocolate mint in the back. I dug it up at the old house and brought it here. That's also taken over, which is fine by me. But lemon balm, don't ever. That stuff will grow on your butt if you stand out there long enough. I'm telling you.
I got one for you. Go drink some lemongrass tea.
Oh, no. Lisa makes it because I'm out there hacking away at it all the time. Courtney gave me like a little coffee cup with a plant of lemon balm. Oh, so pretty. Smells like lemons. Put it in a year. It took over.
Oh, yeah.
It's trying to kill my strawberries. Oh, no.
I'm studying doing a medicine wheel garden.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first excerpts I've seen in this study of the medicine wheel garden is do not plant lemon balm inside your medicine wheel.
Oh, no. It's a weed.
Because it will take over your medicine wheel.
It's a weed. My mother had a spice garden in a wagon wheel. It was beautiful. But she was like, it was like a bonsai. She'd trim it all the time,
I'm
give it
looking at
attention.
about 60 by 60,
Mm-hmm.
um, with the quadrants being about 15 feet of actual planting space.
Wonderful.
Um, because you got four quadrants, and then you got the center walkway so that you can convene at the center of the medicine wheel.
Sure.
And then the pathway around the outside.
Beautiful.
Um, and one of the things we're planning is ancestor walks
Nice.
through our medicine wheel garden.
Nice. It's going to be beautiful. Well, and there's limitless potential what you can do, which is nice. A sacred space is healing ground. It'll tell you what it wants.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll grow most of it for you. So it's minimal effort.
We're cross culturing, because of the area where we're building in. It's not really conducive to the traditional Inipi lodge structure.
Sure.
90-mile-an-hour winds don't do well with dome structures that aren't weatherproof.
True.
So we're looking at digging a kiva.
Beautiful.
Because us, we're going to sweat regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be able to go sweat in my lodge whenever I need to sweat in my lodge. So
Sure.
we're going to put one below ground.
Beautiful. Brilliant idea. It tells you, the land tells you what it needs. It's like when we moved in here, we had nothing but weeds and party garbage because the guy that lived here was a dedicated bum. And so it took me a year to get up all the solo cups and beer bottles and nastiness, which is how we ended up getting the beautification award 2 years later, because I took this area, had no flowers at all, ugly shrubs, and turned it into something. It turned into a Zen garden for all intents and purposes. And I feel sorry for the man who lived here and never really got to walk out in his yard and get healed. He walked out in his yard and got drunk.
Yeah.
That's really not a happy way to live.
Dijen said she got some dirt from her folks' house for some garden beds. They live next to a GMO corn and bean operation. The dirt she collected has gifted her with some wonderful ragweed plants.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
But gardening is such God's work that, even if it's just pulling the weeds out of the cracks in the cement, it's all good.
I did that yesterday.
Yeah.
I got a nasty letter from the HMO.
Oh, geez. Oh, geez. I do bleach or chemicals just cause. My lawn guy does such a beautiful job on the lawn that, I don't want the sidewalks looking shabby.
I was talking about this the other day with a client. I had migraines. I was plagued with migraines for decades. And I went through a environmental study with a naturopath. And she removed commercial bleach and Lysol from my household cleaning products.
Okay.
She removed a couple of items from my diet that were kind of questionable.
Okay. Borderline.
Yeah. She tried to get rid of the Mountain Dew, but I'm questionable.
Yeah. That's before I give up my Red Bull and espresso.
Yeah. But, I haven't, since that environmental study, I've had 3 migraines.
Not bad.
One of those, I'm pretty sure, came from going to somebody else's house who had just cleaned with bleach.
Mm-hmm.
We use a non-chlorine bleach for our laundry now.
Sure.
And we clean with vinegar, white vinegar, lemon juice, and some essential oils.
Oh, vinegar, mirrors, tables, windows, perfect. Although I had one of my seniors tell me that back when they were kids, they used to use potash in newspaper.
Yeah.
And she said, we even brush our teeth with potash. I went, really? Yeah.
And you give me a piece of newspaper, I can clean your mirror to a mirror polish.
Beautiful. Consider this. It's through surrender, Dorothy, that we come to recognize a force greater than ourselves. A limitless power is available to us, a power that heals. Surrender is the highest form of conscious contact with the divine. Almost all the world's great religions and spiritual paths practice some form of surrender. So, drawing this lesson is an invitation to turn your will and your life over to God, the great creator spirit. Not so long ago, surrender meant defeat and brought with it shame and dishonor. On the healing journey, surrender means relinquishing control, for in doing so, we acknowledge our readiness to heal. So, receiving this lesson, you're being asked to let go of your need to control the present situation or release any past experiences that continue to trouble you. For some, it encourages you to surrender to the feelings of being alone or abandoned by embracing your fears and moving through them hand in hand with the great creator spirit. If you're facing a critical illness, a life crisis, or the moment that's finally come to stop fighting yourself, be grateful and practice surrender. If you do nothing else, let go and let God. For many of us, this often repeated phrase has already provided safe passage to a new way of life. If you are seeing these words for the first time, then let them mark a new beginning for your healing. The true power of surrender always changes our lives. Remember, I surrender my will to the greater will, to the will of the great creator spirit. I will do thy will in thy way. And it's Venus Mars. There's only so much you can do. And you want to do the best effect in my predictions, which you can read tonight at theastralbaglady.net. I told Sagittarius, this is a cycle where you can be a boot or a butt. Okay? Boots are meant for walking. They get things done. Butts get the boot, don't they? Butts get a kick in the boot because you're not using your potential. And with Saturn Aquarius, we're all meant to live up to our potential as best as is humanly possible right now. So it's the argument between reason and passion. Reason has to win. Common sense. Common sense shouldn't be so darn uncommon. My broken record. When did common courtesy become uncommon? Are they diseases? Weaknesses?
I'll give you an answer there. 1987.
You think?
Yeah.
The time of conspicuous consumption?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Makes sense.
Courtesy went out the door. At the same time, truth and news went out the door.
Nice.
When they released the truth in advertising, truth in news leashes in 1987,
yes,
they broadened the field for anybody and everybody to lie to you. And
lovely.
It's hard to be courteous when everybody's lying.
True.
And also,
it's hard to believe anybody.
Yeah, it's also the advent of, we got to be politically correct. Being politically correct is calling a spade a spade.
True.
Okay. Being politically correct is pointing out falsehoods and inflations. There's a word you'll have to look up. Because it's now become commonplace to use those to deflect.
Sure. Some people always will.
And for those of you that don't have the time to pick up the Oxford Unabridged Dictionary, an inflation is an exaggeration of time and space.
Mm-hmm. It's an obfuscation.
Yes.
Or as I prefer to call them, entrepreneurs of manure. We had a boss like that. We had a boss like that at CBS, and my partner said to me, "You'll know she's lying when her lips are moving." And it's true. We did PSAs, and she had me doing 10 PSAs a day, 50 PSAs a week. And one week I couldn't do it. And I went to the production manager and I said, I'm out of time. I got to pay the bills. They got me working 70 hours a week, paying me for 20. And he said, don't you know, she's only using one a week. I'd already done like 250 of them. One a week. So it's true. Whenever her lips are moving, she was lying. Because that's what she did. It's how she got her job. That's how she kept her job, as long as she did. And eventually that turned to poo, because that's what happens.
Um, I shared desk space with some old radio jocks
Mm-mm.
back in the mid 80s. And
Funny people.
uh, honestly, a lot of them left the radio industry with the advent of that little conundrum there,
Hmm.
because they got pushed to the side uh, to make room for shock jocks.
Well, there is no real radio anymore. It's all canned. And back at CBS, we always were dazzled with the fact that no matter
Yeah,
how good a song is, no matter how great it is, no matter how it rolls, you play 3 minutes of it. Doesn't matter where you
like
start.
like like
Doesn't
John
matter.
Boy and Billy really have a finger on the pulse
Oh
of
yeah. Oh
East
yeah.
LA.
Yeah. So you 3 minutes of free bird, pick any three. It was like, you gotta be kidding me. They didn't care about the music whatsoever. And like I said, it was all canned, it was shipped in from somewhere else, and one at a time, the people who thought that radio had a voice of the greater mind or the greater heart were just squoze out, like my friend Jack Shell. We're just squoze out of radio because they discovered that no, now we're just here to pimp things.
Yeah,
We're just here to pimp things, buy this, get that. You got it. You really need this.
I met some really interesting people because of the Flying Dutchman.
Sure.
Became friends
Now,
with him, and
let's say, first of all radio people are crazy.
hmm
Because, like I said, we work 70 hours a week. They pay us for 20 or 30. So, right off the bat, crazy. And you also know the day that you get hired, you're going to get fired for some reason. Somebody's like your shoelaces. Somebody's like the way you drink your coffee. You're out
well,
of here.
the Flying Dutchman was at CBS Radio
Mm-hmm.
for a long time,
Good
and
old CBS.
they shelved him
Mm-hmm.
in favor of Howard.
Sure.
And Howard didn't last on CBS Radio. How long?
A minute, a hot minute. I mean, I
Because
understand he's got an audience. There's an interest there in a twisted way, and it's fine. It's America. It's America.
he had to go to satellite radio to air his show.
To be as vile as he is, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a market for it, or who wouldn't be there?
Wolfman Jack died a pauper
Yeah.
because he spent all of his money trying to support his contemporaries that were being pushed out.
Sure,
And that, that's sad.
it is.
I mean, he had movie credits in over 50 movies. His voice was the voice of the nation for 30 years. And he died a pauper because he was helping his brothers and sisters in the radio industry survive.
He died a rich man.
Yeah.
He died a very rich man. I've had family members who took their money to the grave that they'd stolen from each other, and I kept thinking, I don't ever want to be that poor that I can't.
Oh, he was very rich in spirit.
Mm-hmm. That's
Very
where it matters.
rich in spirit.
The rest of it's just a dog and pony show, really.
Yeah. Swampy says the problem with radio these days is they're all owned by five or six companies.
Yeah, Cumulus, they're the worst. They fire you for Christmas. Merry Christmas, you're fired.
Yeah. I worked indirectly with Comcast for a minute.
Oh my God.
They're awful.
Oh, tell me about it.
Hi, can I help you?
Yes, kill me now. Kill
You're
me
fired.
now.
Okay, thank you.
Kill me now. Yeah, just go on YouTube and watch Swampy Tech Support, and you'll get the whole gist of it.
I did
That's Swampy.
end user cable installation,
Mm-hmm.
not the box, but
Yeah.
cable itself
Sure.
for Comcast for I think 2 months.
Mm.
It's not the fact that they didn't like the fact that I was getting 6 houses done a day.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that they didn't like the fact that I was getting 6 houses done a day. I was making the work crew look miserable.
Yeah.
So they called me. I'm getting ready to get in my personal vehicle to drive to the job site, and all of my coworkers were driving company vehicles, but I was a contract worker, so I had to drive
Mm.
a vehicle. And I'd show up in my little 2-door Sentra and crawl out and go to work and install 12 cable runs and load back up in my car and go across the street and do the next thing at the next house. Uh, the guys with the nice comfy trucks were sitting and doing their hour and a half lunch break. I was doing another house.
Mm.
In 2 months, cable ran 2,000 houses.
Nice.
They had to lay off 4 of their full-time installers. And he called me on my way to the job one morning and said, I'm just going to have you bring your radio and all of that stuff by the shop today
Mm.
because I can't afford to keep paying you.
Mm.
So they let me go, and he pulled back all 4 of the people that he had laid off and had to hire 3 more
There you go.
to get the work done that I was doing.
Made sense to him at the time. Before we run out of time, speaking of time, how can people find you and the gang and your creations?
www.spiritualcreations for our creations and www.foroflikekind for your spiritual needs and services.
Indeed. And for me, it's real easy. It's the astralbaglady.net where you'll see your astrological forecast tonight, probably about 8:15. Last week I gave her a bye for a day, but I always say I have the worst boss in the world because I'm self-employed. So we work holidays.
I run a tight ship.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. Otherwise, you sink, and we don't want to sink. Failure's not an option. So once again, when you talk of peace. When you think of peace. When you pray,
wants
pray
to
for
know,
peace.
as a last question, how's
Yes.
this guy's transit for fall equinox looking?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Beautiful as far as the skies go. You might have some transitioning issues with the ground beneath your feet.
Oh, that's 7 years. Uranus, Mars, Uranus in the Earth trine. Yeah. Yeah, the rug moves. Just fly with it. It's quite all right.
The rug's going to be moving for the equinox.
Although, truthfully, if you could send me your chart or send me your birth data at abaglady01@att.net, I could run your chart and transits to it and tell you exactly to the day. I love the precision of astrology. Isn't it wonderful? Like I said, last weekend set us up for today. The very Virgo, get your butt in gear mood. So hopefully you were gentle with yourself at that point in time. Well, we're out of time. Again, it goes by too quickly, but we'll be back another 168 hours. I promise.
Peace and blessings, everybody.
Absolutely. Peace
and
out.
Jen, watch out. We're both reverends here. We get confused sometimes.
Yeah, all the time. Bye-bye.
Peace and blessings, everyone.